Good morning, everyone. How are you feeling? Good? Smiles? Some sleepy eyes, maybe? Up early? I was very pleasantly surprised to see so many people here at 5:30. Well done. And it's a beautiful day. Probably you're thinking, as I am, what a perfect day to do your washing. But it's back at home. Got to let it go. And so this second session for our survival skills is relax. So how to relax. So one method I often use is to just very quickly close your eyes, and we just take a very deep breath in through the nose. Hold it for a second, and exhale. Another deep breath in. Holding and exhaling. And one more, this time filling the whole lungs, inhaling and exhaling. And so now you feel perhaps the effect of relaxation. Perhaps before those 3 deep breaths, you might not have been aware of any tension in the body or mind. But afterwards, you feel the relief. You see that there's some benefit to this conscious act of relaxation. So it's a very important skill to develop, and most people, when they talk about wanting to practice meditation, say they want to practice meditation because they need to relax. So it's this thing, we've got this very busy life, very busy lifestyle, lots of activity, lots of tension in our lives, in our minds. And there's a voice inside our head that says, I need to chill out. And so this is what people look to meditation for quite often in their lives. So how do you relax? What do you do to relax? Some people read, but if you're reading, then your eyes are busy and your hands are holding a book. Some people like to pop bubble wrap. Your fingers get exhausted. Gardening, you always end up with a back injury from doing too much gardening. So these methods of relaxation, they're not really relaxation. They're just getting us into a flow where we can find some peace, or they're just a way of reducing the busyness that we experience by doing something that we enjoy. So it's not so much relaxation, but recreation. To be truly relaxed, we need to be doing nothing. To be truly relaxed, we need to be completely at ease, completely comfortable, so that we can let go. And that's what meditation is. So meditation is a true form of relaxation. Doing nothing at all. I'll talk more about that in a little while, but we've got to understand perhaps why it is that we need to relax. So we all have bad days. We all have lives that are stressful. We all have emotions and tensions. We have problems. We have difficulties in our lives. And that's okay. It's okay. This is what life is. And it's okay. But what we need to do is deal with that tension, deal with our problems, deal with our stress effectively. So probably in your lives from time to time, maybe even yesterday, maybe even last week or last month, You might have had some interactions with yourself or with others that were negative and unpleasant, unhappy experiences. Maybe as a result of tension, of stress in your life. So how did you deal with that? How did you deal with it? Give yourself a little rating out of 10, maybe, Was it successful? What did you do to deal with that stress? Where did your mind go? Where did your body go? So when I look in the world, when I'm out on the train or on the bus or walking around town, I see a lot of people are on their phones all the time. And I think this is probably one of the methods that we use to reduce our stress, to reduce our anxiety in our lives. So this is kind of like someone going to bed late at night, you can see the panic, slow dawning panic in the back of his eyes there, attached to the world. How can you relax if you're looking at a news feed? How can you relax knowing what's going on in the world? How can you relax if you're constantly scrolling, trying to get to a new thing, the next thing? It's the complete opposite of relaxation. But this is how we live, yeah? You get to a cafe for brunch early and you're not relaxed, are you? How do you know you're not relaxed? How long can you wait before the phone comes out and you're relaxing by scrolling through the phone? Because you're not comfortable in that situation. You're not comfortable in that moment. So you go to this kind of toy to relieve that anxiety, that stress that you have of being alone in an uncomfortable space. If you were really relaxed, you'd just sit there and you wouldn't worry about it. You wouldn't worry what people thought about you. You wouldn't worry about what you're doing with your hands. You'd just be relaxed. So this is one thing that we do in our lives. And it's interesting to look at why we use our phones in this way, why we reach out for them so quickly. Even, you know what phubbing is? Do you know what phubbing is? Phubbing is phone snubbing, a contraction. So it's like when you're hanging out with friends and suddenly you get a little bit bored or a bit restless and out comes the phone, and then the next thing you know, both of you are on your phones and you're not present anymore. So when we reach for our phones, we're often reaching for a way out of our present situation. So we take ourselves away from the reality of the moment. Why? We're not comfortable, we're not relaxed. So next time you do this, just be aware of what you're doing. So this is one way to relax with our phone late at night, bathed in the blue light of our screen, wondering why we can't get to sleep. Another way we might relax in our life is using intoxicants, alcohol, drugs, to relax. You might think you've got a handle on your stress levels. You see on Friday nights in the city, people going out after a hard working week to relieve some stress, to relieve some tension, and it's messy, yeah? Really messy. Maybe too much relaxation. But this is what we do to get away from the tension, to relieve the stress in our lives. So this is probably, I might suggest, maybe not a very healthy way to relax, because it's not solving any of our problems. It's not helping us to deal with the situation that we're in. It's just covering it up, masking it, maybe making it a little bit more interesting for a little while, but there's always a bit of a payback the next morning. But essentially, it's not solving any problems for us. So it's another way we might try to relax. It's not a very Buddhist way. This one says that 98% of my problems would be solved if I stopped overthinking things and calmed down. So you can see that I've bleeped out a few of the words there. So some tension perhaps in this person as they're writing this meme. So you can see the stress in them, and they're overthinking things. They're busy, their mind is active, and they know if I could just stop thinking, I could calm down. So this is getting closer to a Buddhist way of relaxing. A little bit closer. Stop the thoughts, he says, as if it was easy, and calm down. So we're heading more towards peace. We're heading more towards stillness. Show you another one. I used to think I had some control over my life. Now I just pull up a chair and watch this show unfold before me. So this is perhaps getting even closer to a Buddhist way of looking at the world. You know, we have very little control over our life. We just can watch things coming and going, just watching things arising, watching things passing away. And this idea of control is important because in our life, in the world that we live in, we need to try pretty hard. We need to use a lot of willpower. We need to really push ourselves to get the better job, to keep going at work, to get up in the morning, to just face the world, deal with our families, deal with our friends, deal with problems. We need to use a lot of willpower. But when it comes to our meditation practice, we can't use willpower. If we could, it would be so easy. We'd just sit there and say, okay, relax. But you know, it doesn't work like that. You can't force yourself to relax. You can't force yourself to become calm. You can't force those thoughts to stop. So instead of using willpower like we do in the rest of our life, we need to rely upon letting go. And letting go is a kind of wisdom power, as Ajahn Brahm says. This is the wisdom that we can use to develop peace. We can't use will, we need to rely upon wisdom. And to have that wisdom, we need to see things as they really are. We need to understand what's going on in our minds, what causes us difficulties in our life, and we need to be able to let those things go. So perhaps when it comes to relaxing, meditation is very useful. There's this graph here, or these pictures, doesn't really matter if you can see it or not, just talking about the benefits of meditation. And I wanted to put this in today just to reinforce the learning that you're doing here on retreat, reinforce the benefits that you're receiving. So some of the benefits you see here are things like bodily benefits. So when you meditate, the body becomes relaxed and calm, the heart rate lowers, the metabolism of the body becomes very nice, your muscles relax, and you feel good. So that's a bodily experience. You can experience mental benefits, less stress in the mind, less anxiety. You can reduce the tension that you're experiencing. There's emotional benefits too. You feel a little bit more connected to yourself. You feel connected to others. But perhaps the most important benefit is the spiritual benefit of meditation. So the spiritual benefits far outweigh all of the other benefits that you'll get. And this is the purpose of meditation. Purpose of meditation isn't just to relax, although relaxing is really nice. It isn't just to feel good. It isn't just to feel more connected. The spiritual benefits of meditation are that you get to see reality as it really is and purify the mind. So that might sound a bit intense. You know, you've just got a stressful job, like you need to know what the nature of reality really is. You just want to relax. I was just thinking this morning about an image in the suttas, and I was able to apply it to my own life. I flew back to Sydney after I became a monk, and Sydney is a very busy city. It's very stressful. If you're in Sydney, you have to walk fast, otherwise you just get trampled. And so I got off the plane and just got sucked into the vortex of busy Sydney. And, living in the monastery here, relaxing, doing my meditation, living at a human pace. And as soon as I got off the plane, I was like, and I was like, oh, quick, gotta go, walking fast. Like monks and nuns, we're not meant to walk fast because, we're supposed to be calm and centered. We're not troubled by the affairs of the world. But I just ordained, and my mind obviously wasn't strong enough. The habit pattern of my mind kind of just kept me, threw me back into the past. And so I looked up and I saw the train timetable and it's like, okay, there's a train coming. Okay, quick. I didn't have anywhere to be. I wasn't even in a hurry. And so I thought, okay, quick, okay. And I was looking up, and then I was going down the escalators, and I was worried about getting my robes caught. The escalator. I've been living in a forest. We don't have these things. And so I was kind of looking down, and I was going down the escalator, walking down the escalator, and then you know how there's always that person who stands on one side and then puts their case on the other side and just blocks the whole escalator. And so I was looking down, and then just to make sure I wasn't going to get caught. And then suddenly there's this person there, and I was like, and I almost ran into her. And she turned around, I'll never forget this, she turned around and said, "Why are you in such a hurry?" I don't think that she knew that I was a monk. I think she just turned around. She already had it in her head. She was ready for it. She knew what she was doing. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I was so ashamed. A monk in a hurry. Where am I going? She was right. Where was I going? Why was I in a hurry? And the Buddha, he uses this image in his teaching on removing distracting thoughts, Majjhima Nikaya number 20. So it's good to know, firstly, as maybe new meditators, that there is a method for removing these distracting thoughts. And the one that the Buddha was talking about was a man walking fast. So he's walking fast, like I was at the airport, walking fast, and then he suddenly thinks, why am I walking fast? Why don't I slow down? And so he slows down. And then he thinks, why am I walking? Why don't I stop? And so he stops. And then he thinks, why am I standing? Why don't I sit? And so he sits. And then he thinks, why am I sitting? Why don't I lie down? And so he lies down. So each posture that he adopts is more relaxing than the previous. And what the Buddha is hinting at here is that we need to perhaps start looking at the thing in our mind which is pushing us forward. The thing in our mind that creates this busyness, that creates this activity. It's called sankharas in Pali. So it's this volitions, this willpower, the mental formations, sometimes it's called, that push us, that create us activity in our mind. So if we can kind of stop that, then we can relax. But that's very difficult. So how do we do that? And the answer is that we need to do meditation in order to purify the mind. When I first heard this kind of language, years and years and years ago now, purify the mind, I was kind of a little bit, my mind's fine, thank you very much. I don't have any impurities in my mind. But then, you sit down for meditation and it's all this junk. All this junk that comes up from your life. Stuff that you don't even realize is there. Stuff that just has no use, no purpose whatsoever. These are the kind of impurities that the Buddha talked about. And he used an image, the dirt washer. It's a person who is not washing dirt, but washing gold. So you have some gold, and gold has a lot of impurities in it. And it has very gross impurities, like bits of gravel, hunks of other metals and things like that. So you have to wash those out, get rid of them. And then there's middling impurities that remain after you get rid of the gross ones. there's these middling impurities. So you wash it, keep washing, keep purifying, keep washing. And then you've got very subtle, very fine impurities that remain in the mind, in the gold / in the mind. You can see where this is going. And so this is what we have to do as meditators. We have to start with the obvious stuff, the stuff that is kind of very heavy, very present in our mind, those thoughts that trouble us, hate, sense desire, thoughts of harm, ill will, resentment, irritation, even entanglements like relationships, people, hopes, fears, future, past, all of these things that kind of find their way into our minds. Once we kind of sit down and relax for a little while, once we stop walking fast and relax, sit down, those things start to fall away all by themselves. So there's a process here. And once those very obvious impediments to our meditation go, there's another layer, those middling impurities that remain in our mind. And once we get rid of those, subtle impurities in the mind. And once we get rid of those, what are we left with? Pure gold, peace, contentment, stillness. And it is possible to attain these states. You might not think it. You sit down at the beginning of a retreat, the mind's so busy. But it is possible. And then when you have this mind of clarity, of stillness, it's like a freshly washed floor. You know, when you've just mopped the floor and it looks beautiful, and then you see a tiny little speck, a bit of dust has fallen on the floor, you can't stand it. You have to go and take that little speck off. You want the nice, clean floor. And that's what it's like when you have a beautiful, clean, still, peaceful mind. When these things come up in the mind, like anger or hatred or ill will or sense desire, things about the past, things about the future, even subtle things, the mind is so unsettled again. And so that's the kind of aim of the Buddhist path of meditation, is to purify the mind, and in doing so we see the nature of our reality. We see why things arise, why things pass away. So these are very high attainments. This is what it means to be an arahant, an enlightened being, a Buddha. So, as I said last night, we might not get there on this retreat, but we might be able to take up a posture that is less busy than the one that we had out in the world a few days ago. So we might get some peace, we might get some stillness. The important thing to take away from this session today is that this is a process. This is a process. So processes can just happen all by themselves. Ajahn Brahm uses this image of a lotus when he talks about meditation practice. He says the lotus doesn't have to try hard to open. The petals unfold by themselves when the causes and conditions are right. Each petal doesn't have to try to open itself, push the other petals out of the way, compete. It doesn't use its willpower to open. It opens naturally. And this is how our meditation practice can be as well. So once we sit down, we've already done the hard work. Once you come on retreat, you've already done the hard work. You've stepped away from the world. You've stepped away from the busyness. You've already adopted a posture that is more relaxing. You don't have any entanglements here. You have very few responsibilities. You don't have any problems. Jhana Grove is a land of peace and bliss. You know, you come here, there's nothing to trouble you. And so you come here, you've adopted a more peaceful posture already. there's a sutta called Volitions, the Chaitanya Sutta, where the Buddha talks about how we can start this process in an easy way, the process of the mind becoming more and more open and the purification process in the mind. And he says the best way to start is, even before you get to sit down on the mat, the best way to have good meditation is to lead a good life. Does that make sense to you? I'm just going to go back to the previous slide, because when we hear about mindfulness and meditation, sometimes we've got the cart before the horse, as they say. We've got things around the wrong way. We've got busy lives, stressful lives. We've got a stressful job. And so the human resources manager says, okay, we're going to have mindfulness training at work. And so everyone has to eat a grape very much. Have you heard about this? Have you ever done mindfulness training? One of my friends did. And he said he had to eat a grape mindfully. He's a very cynical person, so he was not impressed. But the point being that sometimes we use things like mindfulness or meditation to help us with our busy life, to help reduce the stress, to help reduce the suffering. But I'm trying to get you to see that actually this is perhaps a kind of travesty of meditation, because it's not just a tool to help us cope with our busy lives. It's an incredibly powerful tool that'll help us in so many different ways and will give us so many benefits. It's almost like, if you do this kind of meditation to be a more productive worker, so you can sell more units, so that you can feel okay about all the yucky things you had to do in your job that day. It's almost like using a rocket ship to go get bread from the local shop. You have this powerful thing at your disposal. You can go to the stars with this rocket ship, but instead we take it down to the local shop. So it's kind of like, what are we really doing here with this this tool? And it's the wrong way around, because we shouldn't use something as powerful and beautiful as meditation just to make our lives a little bit stressful. It's the wrong way around. We should use our life to help our meditation. So if you have a busy life, a stressful life, when it comes to sit down for your meditation, you're going to have a busy, stressful meditation session. If you've got an angry life, a bitter, a twisted life, when it comes to sit down, you're going to have a bitter, twisted meditation session. It's the reverberation of all the things that you do during the day that you sit with when it comes to meditate. And this is hard. This is really hard sometimes in your lives. Sit and look at the mind. You see, these are impurities. These are things that obstruct my wisdom, obstruct my peace. These are things that get in the way of seeing the mind clearly. And I'm going to talk a lot more about this afternoon in the retrain session. But just to know that these things affect us. The things that we do in our life affects us. And so that's where we need to start. If you want good meditation, that's where you need to look. Are you living well? Are you living a kind life? Are you being generous, good to other people, good to yourself? Are you living in a way that makes you happy, that makes others happy? Because if you are, when it comes to meditation, that's what you'll have in your mind. If you've given someone a present that day, when it comes to meditation, you sit down and you think, I did a good thing, I was generous today. And the mind is happy. The mind is peaceful. If you live a good life without anger and hostility, resentment, ill will, and you come to sit down, your mind is full of beautiful qualities: love, kindness, compassion, peace. And that's the kind of meditation you'll have. So sometimes we have this topsy-turvy way of looking at the world. And I used to teach meditation in offices, and it did benefit the people who were working there a lot. But I always thought this is kind of, the wrong way around. They were just using it so that they could be more productive. I thought, if only you knew. But hopefully they gained some benefit. Perhaps they could see a bigger picture with it too. And so, the Chaitanya Sutta that I mentioned before, it starts with this concept of virtue. So that's the things I've just been talking about. Virtue being good, living well, being kind, being generous, not doing things that impact the mind, like killing or stealing or anything like that. Just being a good person, that's virtue, good conduct. So if you have this in your life, then in your mind, you don't have any regrets. So when it comes to sit down, you don't think, I wish I hadn't shouted. I wish I hadn't stolen that thing from the shops today. I wish I hadn't hurt so-and-so. You don't have these regrets in your mind. So if you live well, when it comes to sitting down, there's no regret in your mind. And so this flower starts to open. Live well, no regret, joy naturally appears in the mind. You don't have to do anything. You've already done the hard work. You're living well, no regrets. Joy is the result. And when you get a little bit of joy in the mind, the next thing that comes is rapture. Piti in Pali. Rapture means kind of like ecstasy, kind of like beautiful feelings in the mind and body. And you can feel these things in your meditation. Perhaps some of you have felt this kind of little tingles running through the body, little showers of bliss, beautiful, wonderful feelings in the body. So this comes after joy. And then it gets better. It becomes more pleasurable. You have tranquility in the mind. You get a bit of joy, a bit of rapture, feel good. Tranquility comes. Beautiful sense of peace, ease, contentment. You don't have to try. You don't have to force this. It happens all by itself, just like the lotus opening. And it gets better. After the tranquility comes sukha, pleasure, a real deep kind of pleasure. Not the kind of pleasure you get from sense experiences, not the kind of pleasure that doesn't last, is unstable like we were talking about last night, but a real pleasure, a spiritual pleasure, deep inside, feeling really good. So that comes. And then comes the stillness, samadhi, stillness. And this stillness is even more beautiful than the pleasure because it's so still. All this activity that we do in our life, all this busyness, agitates the mind. Stillness makes the mind feel wonderful. It's this relief from busyness, relief from activity. And then, after the stillness, after the samadhi, comes, in the Pali language, yatha bhuta jnana dasanam. Knowledge and vision of things as they really are. So that's pretty amazing. That's deep insights, that's wisdom into how things really are. So meditation isn't just a tool for relaxation. It's a powerful tool that will help you see into your mind, help you see into the meaning of life. I'll just go through those stages once again for you. So first thing we need to have is good conduct, virtue. From that, non-regret in the mind. From that, pamoja, joy. From that, piti, rapture, ecstasy. From that, passaddhi, tranquility, contentment. From that, sukha, pleasure. from that, stillness, samadhi, and from that, wisdom. So that's a pretty beautiful lotus opening in our hearts. And the key to this occurring is letting go, retreating, even just to your room, even just to retreat to your cushion, and then letting go, relaxing, not doing anything, not playing with the phone, not popping bubble wrap, just sitting down. And then these states can arise all by themselves. You can't force it, you don't need to will it, it just happens. Ajahn Brahm says, relax to the max. So I've borrowed that from him. I don't think we can underestimate the power of relaxation. And in a little while we'll do a guided relaxation. I used to teach yoga. I was a yoga teacher. I used to work in the city. And so people would come and they're pretty stressed out. You know how most of you do yoga sometime in your life? I know you did today, but sometimes when you do a yoga session, I don't know, Mashan, did you do a relaxation at the end? Yeah? Good, so you're already relaxed, but you can always relax more. But people used to come to the studio that I worked at and they were so stressed out, kind of jangling. You could see the stress. There were mostly lawyers in the area that I worked. And so they're kind of twitching a little bit. They were so stressed out, we would do the relaxation first before doing the yoga because they just needed that, that break, that circuit breaker before they could actually be present. So the relaxation actually helped them become present. And I'll never forget, there's this woman who used to come often to my classes, and she would just come for the relaxation, and she would either go straight away after that, or she would just stay the whole time lying down. And I loved that. I was like, what a great idea. Cheaper than a hotel, but better. You know, you just lie down, relax, you don't have to do anything, and you feel good. We know this. We know this. Relaxation makes us feel good. Why don't we prioritize it in our lives? Kind of this perversity of our mind, this busy culture that we live in, we feel like we have to constantly do something, otherwise we're wasting our entire life. But if you want to find out what life is all about, what life really is, then the best way is to stop. Stop and have a look. And that's what meditation is. So how does it actually work? So it's very easy for me to say, okay, just sit down, relax, let it go. And you're like, okay, but it's not going. Okay, but I'm not relaxing. So first thing we need is this right intention I mentioned yesterday, this intention to retreat, this intention to have a little bit of renunciation in our hearts. So we need to actually be okay with letting go of the stuff that usually occupies our mind. So when it comes to being here, when it comes to sitting down on the mat, let go of the stuff outside. It's not your priority this weekend. It's not your priority for that 1 hour of meditation, that half an hour, that 15 minutes that you're going to do. So that's the first thing. Have this intention to be present for your relaxation, for your meditation. And then instead of having these objects in our mind that cause us agitation or distress, like sense desire or ill will or thoughts of the past and future, instead of having these things dominate our minds, what we need to do is to skillfully use another object. So this is called the method of substitution. And the Buddha described this in his sutta about removing distracting thoughts. It's the first method he suggests. And the image that he uses is of an old wooden peg. So you know, if you've ever seen some carpentry and you have like a join, you have a piece of wood and then there's like a round wooden peg that's keeping it all together. Sometimes those little pegs get rotten and you need to get rid of them. So you don't just try to kind of like force it out or yell at it, get out, relax, whatever. You get another peg and you hammer. So you hammer the old peg out with the new. Does that make sense? So this is the method that the Buddha suggests that we use. So we've got this old rotten way of thinking, these thoughts that dominate our mind, and instead of focusing on them, what we do is we substitute those old rotten thoughts with a more wholesome object. And that is something, it could be neutral, like relaxing the body, practicing letting go, being aware of the present moment, or using the breath. So we use this object, a neutral object, a wholesome object, to cancel out the previous objects that dominated our mind. And when that happens, the mind can remain present because you've got something that you're looking at that isn't taking you away from the present moment, isn't throwing you into the past, throwing you into the future. It's keeping you there. And so gradually the mind starts to learn, okay, this is where we're at. And when a distracting thought comes, you're aware of it because you have some mindfulness that has developed, because you're aware of the present moment. That's what mindfulness means. You're kind of aware of the object of your choice. Not just aware of whatever the mind kind of wants to go to all by itself. Not just kind of like, okay, now I'm thinking about tennis. Okay, now I'm thinking about dinner. That's not mindfulness because there's no sense of control there, direction there. It's not going to help you because that's what our mind already does. It just goes wherever it wants. But we're trying to train the mind. And I'll talk more about this afternoon. But not only do we need mindfulness, but we also need a little bit of wisdom so that we know, okay, there's an object in my mind. Is this the one that I wanted? Is this the breath? No. Okay, back to the breath. So it helps you, yeah? You have this mindfulness and you have this right attention, this wise attention, yoniso manasikara, which helps you to be aware of what's actually going on and to understand, is this going to help me or not? So this is the method of substitution. You use an object like the breath, and when the breath goes, you might not be aware of it for a long time. You might suddenly be off in dreamland, remembering this, doing that, thinking about this, planning that. But then suddenly the mind goes, oh, hang on a second, I'm meant to be watching my breath. So you don't need to worry too much about forcing, because when your mind comes back like that, mindfulness, yeah? So it might go away for a little while, that's okay, it'll come back when it does. Just think, okay, I'll try to keep it here for a bit longer this time. But don't force it, don't push it, because the mind will then become very tight and very uncomfortable. So it's better just to relax, allow for the breath to come and go, and eventually the mind learns. Over time, the mind learns, okay, this is where happiness is, because this is where stillness is, this is where peace is, calm, tranquility. And when you have this mindfulness, the joy will appear in the mind. The mind's happy to be there, feels good. This is like the glue that attaches the mind even closer to this object. So when you feel good, you're happy to watch the mind. And the more you feel good, the more you feel good. The more pleasure, the more joy comes along with that mind. The more mindfulness you have, the stronger the joy, the stronger the pleasure that you'll experience. So this is the way that we get the mind to retrain itself into experiencing a path that is very joyful, very pleasurable. And it starts with relaxation. It starts with just chilling out, being here, wanting to be here, not wanting to do anything else, relaxing. And so that's my advice to you today for the rest of the retreat, is to really try to let go. Let go. Have you ever relaxed so much that you've lost control of your tongue? This is the kind of relaxation that works. So sometimes when you see nuns and monks, we're conscious of people watching us, so you're trying a little bit hard. But then sometimes when everyone's got their eyes closed, you see monks and nuns kind of like, they're not necessarily falling asleep. Okay, sometimes they are. But what they're doing is relaxing the body, relaxing so much. It's so pleasurable to relax. It feels so good, and this in itself is like a kind of a bliss of its own. This just being relaxed, and it's so difficult to understand. It's like that image of the mountain yesterday, that the person down below can't possibly understand what you see from above. When you're busy in the world, even just getting a little bit of relaxation is really tough. You have to really try to get relaxation. You have to get a massage, go to a resort, take a holiday. It's very hard to get relaxation in our lives. And it's because we're so busy. It's because we've got this habit pattern of activity. So don't crave these blissful experiences that I'm talking about. That's just got to push them further away. You can't strive for them. You can't force them. You can't will them to happen. But you can perhaps experience a lessening of stress in your mind, a lessening of tension, and that in itself is blissful. So that's good. So kind of lower your expectations, be grateful for what you get, and it's okay. Another image that might help you is just to recognize that you have come from a very busy life, that you are a train that is moving very, very fast, and pull the handbrake, go on retreat, like screech. It does take some time for that train to not only slow down, but to stop. So when it comes to retreating, it might take a couple of days for the mind to even start settling. It might take a couple of weeks. When I first became a monk, I think it took me actually a couple of months to finally feel like I had stopped, that I had come to rest, because of the force, the momentum of the busyness of my life. And it's funny how the mind works. When I entered the monastery, I still had a phone that worked as a phone. Now I have a phone that works as an alarm clock. But there's no reception at Bodhinyana. So I found myself still scrolling on the same news feed for about 3 months. Scrolling, hoping maybe this time there'll be some new news or something. Maybe this time I'll have connection. But it was this habit pattern of the mind. It took a really long time for me to realize there's no joy here. It's just the same thing as last time. So it took me a long time to learn. This is the habit pattern of the mind. So be gentle with your mind. Relax into relaxing. You can't force it, but be aware that this is the way. This is the way to go. This is the way for joy to arise in your life. So this is this very important skill to develop. This is probably the most important survival skill, because it's the beginning of so many wonderful things for you. Not only does it feel good physically to relax, mentally to relax, spiritually to relax, it's going to benefit you in your life daily. It's going to benefit your relationships with people. Who wants to be around people who are stressed and angry, bitter and twisted, just recovering from their busy days? No one wants to be around people like that. You walk into a room, sometimes full of people who are stressed, and you feel it, yeah? You feel the tension coming off them. It's like, whoa. You walk into a room full of meditators, blissed out, relaxed people, and you feel it. It feels good. And so we know that, in our relationships, if we are relaxed, if we're peaceful, our relationships are going to improve. Our relationship with ourselves is going to improve. We're less angry, we're less critical of ourselves, we're more chilled, happier. Our relationships with other people improve too. Someone makes a mistake, there's a problem. What do I care? I'm chilled, I'm relaxed. Doesn't matter, doesn't affect me, doesn't bother me. So this is some of the benefits that you'll have. And yes, you will be more productive. Yes, you will be kinder. Yes, you will be nicer. Yes, you will be more spiritual if you relax, because it opens up this space in the mind for other things. And as we learnt from that image of the opening of the lotus, the Chaitanya Sutta, not only does it lead to these beautiful states of mind, but it's this relaxation that we begin with in our meditation that will lead to wisdom. So that's some thoughts on relaxation. So the good news for you is that we're going to do a guided relaxation, and so you've already been relaxed once this morning. You can relax even more. So we're really developing this skill, and I want you to enjoy it. So we're going to take a comfortable posture. So once again, I always like to start just by taking the shoulders up to the ears, just because that's often where a lot of attention is, and then rolling back the shoulders so that opens up the chest. And we'll take another 3 deep breaths. So just breathing in with the eyes closed through the nose, holding and exhaling. And another deep breath in. Exhaling. And last one, nice and deep. It feels so good to relax. So good. So letting go of any tension, any tightness. Drawing the mind to the shoulder blades, shoulders, the neck, and letting go, relaxing all the muscles, allowing the shoulder blades to feel heavy. All the muscles of the neck, top of the back, relaxing, softening, letting go. And we spread this relaxation from the top of the shoulders the upper arms, relaxing any tension in the upper arms. Softening at the elbows. Relaxing the forearms. Letting go of the wrist joints. Releasing the backs of the hands. Softening palms. Relaxing down through each and every fingertip. So that now both arms are feeling heavy and relaxed. And so you come back up, top of the neck. Relaxing deep inside so that the vertebrae of the neck relax and soften. All the muscles, all the tendons either side, releasing as you let go, as you relax. Drawing this relaxation down the spine, coming to the upper back, relaxing the spine, softening the muscles either side. And moving down to the middle back, relaxing the spine, softening the muscles. And coming to the lower back, relaxing, softening, all the way down, tailbone, so that now the entire length of the spine is comfortable, at ease, relaxed. Now we come to the front of the body, coming to the throat, softening inside, relaxing, front, feeling collarbones opening, softening. Moving down the chest, feel the upper chest releasing, middle chest relaxing, even the bones, the rib cage softening. Even the lungs even the heart, relaxing. And you draw this relaxation, lower chest, the upper abdomen, feeling the sides of the body relaxing, letting go of any tightness, any tension in the lower abdomen. Here, just watching every breath coming in, every breath going out, seeing the rising and falling of the abdomen. You breathe in as you breathe out. Every breath drawing you deeper and deeper into relaxation. Even the internal organs, stomach, intestines, all relax. And you draw the relaxation down to the buttocks, relaxing, softening, letting go of tension, feeling the upper thighs releasing, softening through the backs of the thighs, even the bones, and coming to the knee joint, letting go of any tension there. Releasing the long bones of the shin, softening calf muscles, releasing any tension from the ankle joint, tops of the feet, relax. Heels, soles of the feet, all soft. And then relaxing down through each and every toe. All the tension, all the stress draining away. So that now the entire body from the top of the spine all the way down to the tips of our toes is relaxed, comfortable, at ease. And so now we come to the face, consciously releasing any tension in the jaw, relaxing the jaw, allowing the tongue to relax, gently pressing against the roof of your mouth. Feel the softness corners of the mouth, cheeks, and coming to the eyes, relax inside corners of the eyes, relax the outside corners, the eyeballs gently resting, the eyebrows, forehead, smooth, clear, temples, sides of the head, all relaxed, back of the head, release. And coming now to the top of the head, relaxing. So that now the entire body completely relaxed, comfortable, and at ease. And so just keep on relaxing. Keep on softening. Keep on letting go. Experiencing this relaxed body. See if you can perceive a sense of delight, how delightful it is to experience a relaxed body. body is relaxed, the mind naturally becomes calm and peaceful. And so for the remainder of the meditation, just being aware of the delight of a relaxed body, aware of the bliss of having a calm and peaceful mind. Allow the breath to come to you. Not holding the breath, not forcing. Just allow the breath to come and go. Relaxed, peaceful, aware. Breathing in, breathing out. And as we come towards the end of the meditation, reflecting, how do you feel now? What happened? What worked? What didn't? What led to peace? And what led away from peace in your mind? Everyone looks a little bit blissed out, which is nice. We've lost Pikachu. Pikachu's fallen asleep. So it does feel good to relax. And it is a survival skill. So we've learned 2 skills already. First is to run away and escape from the world, retreat. And the second is to relax. So in your lives, outside in the busy world, you can apply these skills. You can do a day retreat at home, just turn off the phone, lock the door, get rid of the family. You can relax, even at the bus stop, even on the train, even at the office, in your chair, under the desk, in the broom closet, wherever. You can take a moment to withdraw into the mind and to allow yourself to experience this mundane bliss of relaxing the body and experiencing the peace in the mind. So I've allocated the next 45 minutes to walking meditation. So even though the body is relaxed and comfortable and during meditation, sometimes, because of the habit pattern of the mind, and the habit pattern of the body, you start to become a bit stiff, some tension can creep in. So it's good to do some walking, to re-energize the body. Walking meditation has so many benefits. It helps us with our digestion, helps give exercise to the body, and the mindfulness that comes from walking meditation lasts a really long time. The reason for that is because it's quite a big object. The feet is a big object for our mind. Sometimes the breath is a very small object, or these mental states like pleasure are very fine, very refined for the mind to discover. And so sometimes it's quite beneficial if we're feeling restless, if we're feeling agitated, or if we're feeling anxiety, to walk. And for those people that don't know how to do walking meditation, I'll give a quick session just now. If you want to head outside, if you're quite comfortable, you know how to do walking meditation, you go find a nice spot outside, just walk back and forth for the next 45 minutes. Or there's 3 rooms here which you can go into and do walking meditation back and forth. And if you want to learn a bit more about walking meditation, I'm going to show you now. So if those people want to escape, you can escape. If you want to stay, stay. So it's really simple. The thing with meditation is it's not complicated at all. There's a few tricks.